Hello, my name is Dave Woolley. Welcome to another episode of the 10-Minute Land Surveyor. I've been doing a series on building a sustainable surveying model. As you know, we're facing some headwinds in our industry, and it faces deregulation. It faces, which means we become a trade as opposed to a profession. And technically, on a federal level, we've been a profession since, recognized as a profession since sometime in the 50s, early 60s. And that was always true until about 6, 7, 8 years ago. We were basically made into a trade, laborers. And only recently, December of last year, have we been recognized as a profession again. This is a really important thing. We need professional status right next to the architects, the engineers, and anybody else that's licensed as a professional and not as an occupation. Occupation would be a hairstylist or a tree trimmer. They require licensure, but they don't have the fortunate, they're not recognized as professions. So I want to talk about this because the push to deregulate us comes on the federal level and down to the state level, and that's a whole other talk. But I'm going to tell you this, in California, we need to get a handle on the labor market, labor being organized labor, and we need to work with them to recognize our common interest and our professional status. And that's what today's presentation is about. Let's begin. When I talk about us not being able to make a living as tradesmen, and that's just because contractors are self-performing, the science of measurement used to be, especially distance measurement, things over 100 feet, 300 feet. The land surveying community owned that. That's no longer true, and I'm going to show you a couple examples in this video. We no longer control measurement, and the fact that people can measure, if you measure for a living as a land surveyor, you're the person on the bubble. I'll give you an example. If you're somebody that makes your living staking, meaning you don't even do the calculations in the CAD drawings and coordinate with the other disciplines as to where these points actually lie and do those calculations, you simply get calculations from an office, maybe a point plot, and you go out and you put those in, you're very much on the bubble. Because stop and think about it. Fully burdened costs is $50 an hour with about another $30 in fringe benefit, $80 an hour to turn on a total station that almost every trade now has. Your cost going out the door for a two-person crew in Orange County, prevailing wage is at least $300 a crew hour. Now the carpenter, fully burdened, is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $700. So why wouldn't they just go ahead and hire the carpenter, buy an instrument for $35,000 and have them stake out coordinates? This is like a Detroit thing. And so if that's what you're doing, sidebar for a second, if that's what you're doing for a living, you're on the bubble. And if you're over 55, don't worry about it. But if you're 40 and that's what your day is, this was a draft. The photo shown here is a drafting room, probably around the time of World War II. And you look at this, as far as the eye can see in this particular slide, you see draftspeople, big drafting tables, the arms that we used to use for those things, because these were still very much in use early in my career. Well, the draftsman went the same way as a wainwright, went the same way as a lamplighter. These are jobs that technology did away with. You go into any big engineering firm now and any mechanical, structural, civil firm, and it doesn't look like this, and it hasn't looked like that in 30 years, 40 years. And so the point being is, draftsmen or coordinate stakers, the future, you don't have a very bright future. So how do we prevent that? Well, what we do is we recognize what is subject to being automated. And what is subject to being automated in our world are repetitive tasks that don't require professional discretion. And for example, point staking. And these tasks are easier and easier automated. And with some of the labor shortages and the things that we see right now in the post-COVID era, we're going to see more and more automation. Both the technology is coming up and also the labor market's demanding it. There's a lot of pressure in the labor market. These things are going to become automated. And you say, well, but we're surveyors and they need me out here to do this. Well, the truth is they don't. And let me show you what I have here. When you look at the pictures here on the left, that's a body scanner, or not a body scanner, a scanner that you put on your body. It's a personal mobile scanner. And what you see on the top there is you see a rotating head scanning, and on the front it's another rotating head. We were able to scan a building that was well over 1,000 feet long and almost 500 feet wide with let's just say equipment on the inside. The interior of that building was scanned in about a day and a half, and the control was about a day and a half. And to give you a sense of how big this building was, I walked 11.86 miles setting the control inside of that building. So again, that would have taken me well over a month to document that building prior to the mobile scanning, just using conventional scanning, terrestrial scanning, and conventional control. That took a day and a half. So that client is never going to pay to have somebody come in there for a month and scan the interior of this building. It's over. And that's one person. And the woman you see in that photo, she runs that scanner, she brings the data in, she downloads it, she registers it, she does a series of checks, and then she delivers that to an architect to go ahead and do the plans. She does every part of that. Now, it took her a day and a half to scan it. Let's say it took her another day to register it. It took her another 3 days to QA/QC it. And that's a week of work, one person. That just put two people out of a survey job for a month on the equivalent. On the right-hand side, what you see there is that's a Hilti with what we would think of as a total station. But let me show you how that works real quickly. When you look at this particular photo, what you see there is they show you the building information grid lines on the left. You see how they look like they're drawn in? Those are all digital. On the right, that looks a lot like a total station, but it's Hilti. I believe it's actually Trimble who makes that equipment. Let's look at, see how they show that building going up? This is the building information management system in there. That looks an awful lot like a data collector. Those don't look like surveyors. And as you move forward through this video, and they're showing you all the sexy equipment here as it goes forward. But here we are. That instrument is staking out that drill, that is drilling a hole in the ceiling, putting paint on it so that they can install the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And there it is, the J-Bot. That is going to take your job. There's several videos on this J-Bot, and when you watch it, you'll see that the guy is actually a construction manager. So the guy running that instrument, if you watch that video, he doesn't have any kind of a survey background. He's actually a construction manager, takes his Hilti out, sets it up, does what we would call in the survey world a resection, positions himself, puts the drill on there. He walks around with this data collector and he basically lays out all those bolts. And they're not going to call us to do that work ever because we only mark it, they still have to drill it. That's the future of what we do. So what is it that's going to be the job of the future? I don't know for sure, but I can tell you that the automation is no longer only affecting the blue-collar worker. It's also affecting white-collar workers. I'll give you an example. The attorneys, now they have LegalZoom, and if you need some transactional work done, a lot of people do their own using LegalZoom. And that's an example of technology taking skilled workers' jobs. And the people who actually are highly skilled will succeed in the industry. Highly skilled, what does that mean? Well, one thing it means is licensed. If you're a licensed land surveyor and you can do a lot of things, have a wide-ranging set of skills, such as being able to run CAD, being able to manage a project, being able to certify a project, understanding accuracy standards, then you have a future. If you're a coordinate staker, that Hilti will take your job.